Hi, my name is Mark Monlux, and it's time for my Friday night movie recommendation. This week, we're going to go back to 1979. 1979, oh, what an interesting year that was. My Sharona by the Knack was on the Billboard Top 100 singles. Premiering on television was The Duke of Hazzard, The Facts of Life, Knots Landings, and the Antique Roadshow. Well, they all had to start someplace. The best Oscar that year went to The Deer Hunter. And one of the big popular toys to get your little sister that year was a strawberry shortcake doll. So, 1979, I didn't get a chance to see this film. By the way, the film we're talking about today is Phantasm, written and directed by Don Coscarelli. When he was a teenager, Don had this crazy, bizarre dream where he was running down these marble hallways and these silver balls were after him. So that pretty much was the genesis of he decided to wrap this movie around that. Well, I didn't get a chance to see this movie in the theater. I was really bummed by that because in 1979, I lived in Japan. I went to Japan and stayed there for a year as a foreign exchange student. And there were a lot of movies that came out during that 79, 80 period that I had to catch up on when I got back and had to watch on VHS or on Showtime as I finally made it to the screen. I think I saw this on Showtime when I got back. So, Phantasm, what a crazy film. This is definitely a horror film. Many of the scenes are disjointed from each other, and while that could be kind of confusing, they were filmed in such a unique way that they have this eerie, surreal, dreamlike quality to them. And so you just, rather than kind of being off put by that, you just kind of roll with it. And then suddenly you're rewarded with these eyeball slamming, startling scenes that immediately become iconic in the film. In it's just what you're kind of going, what the hell was that? What was that? And now you're left wondering, when is something like that going to happen again? And you're on the edge of your seat, and then all this dreamlike quality comes back again, and you're on. So it's a little bit of a really strange roller coaster, and it kind of leaves you jittery. It wasn't later, until years later, when this film became a franchise. By the way, there's 5 films now, and there's comics, and it just went on because Don was able to figure out what was right in this film and went further with it. He wasn't afraid of doing test showings. As a matter of fact, he did a couple test showings, which he admit were awful, and why he went back and edited this thing. But can you imagine? Don was only 22 years old when he made this film. He was doing things to save money, like he would rent the equipment on Friday and then would film for 20 hours, as much as he could, each day throughout the weekend, and then return it on Monday morning and get charged for only a day's worth of rental. Cost-saving measures like that. He spent money where it mattered. There's a special effects in here called the flying spheres, and he, at the time, the money he spent on having those created to get these special effects, the craftsmen he used, it was a lot of money compared to the rest I mean, but it was needed, and I can assure you that it was money well spent. Um, Now, if you've seen this film, you might have seen it back when it was a VHS rental. Like, I know I saw a couple VHS rentals, and I'm kind of going, what? This seems more disjointed than before. Well, that's because when it went to VHS, some of the editing got messed up, and so there should have been some scenes that weren't included. Other things were just trimmed a little bit, or other things were out of sequence. But you're kind of going, what the hell? But you'll be glad to know that in 2016, directors who were fans of this film, who knew the magic that this guy managed to create with it, I'm trying to think if J.J. Abrams was one of the directors. Anyway, they lent their resources in getting a complete remaster done. Now you can see this complete remaster on Canopy. I think it's also showing on Peacock. But by the way, if you don't know, Canopy is a free streaming service put on by universities and your public library. All you need to participate or to watch anything on Canopy is a library card and a zip code. That's all I needed. And otherwise it's free. It's a great resources for films. So I would really recommend watching this film if you haven't seen it. It still has a very favorable rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Sure, some reviewers at the time kind of, well, even they will admit that this was a product of love. And you can feel the love, and for a horror fan, you can really enjoy this. You can enjoy this film for what it brings. And it might even interest you in the rest of the franchise. It certainly interested me in the rest of my franchise. And God, I gotta keep in mind, until at 1979, nobody had seen this, stuff like this. It almost ended up getting an R rating because of a couple of the scenes, and some of the most, startling scenes. But they managed, a few phone calls were made, a little pleading was done, and it got its R rating. It holds up. I think it really holds up. I think it still feels a little disjointed and kind of dreamy and a little odd, but like I said, those scenes when they happen, so my recommendation: watch Phantasm tonight.